So we discussed part 1. Part 1 talks about interview as being the most important form of communication, because we know that anything and everything people learn is through conversation, and an interview is a conversation between two people, sometimes more. Sometimes you will find a panel of discussion, right? You will sit together in the center and there will be 4 people and you will be asking them questions. That can also be possible. When you go to college, one of the most important things that they want you to know and learn is how to do a group discussion. Now, most of the times what people will do is they will give you a topic and they will go outside of the class and they will observe you remotely, and whether you are able to discuss something meaningful is a very important thing, because in the modern world or with human beings, people don't want to listen, and that's the biggest crime that can happen, because everything we do is through, we can do it faster through listening. Of course we can do reading, but if you talk to a person of knowledge, right, and if you learn from him directly, it is the best thing you can do. So group discussions are very important. Once in a lifetime, somebody in some place, sometime, somewhere will teach you how to do a group discussion. Sir, can you teach it right now? Right now we don't have that, because we have to focus on the things that are important, right? But it is important. You need to know how to engage in a group discussion, allow other people to talk, and lead a group discussion. There are these 3 things that are very, very important. But again, for doing those things or for being able to do those things, you have to be a very good reader. Without that, it will not work. You will have to have amazing command of over your tongue with the English language. Of course, you can talk in your mother tongue, but you will need awesome skills. So, interview, the chapter, we know it's a book, it's an anthology. We understood why some people like it, why some people don't like it, and we know how, some people make it bad for other people, and that is why they don't like it, right? And we discussed yesterday that interview can turn into investigation, and investigation can turn into interrogation. Now all these 3 words, sir, what are they? You have dictionary, and I want everybody to pay attention, because if you write what I am speaking, only then you will be able to grasp all of these things. Again, otherwise it will go away. So I hope you have a pen in hand and you are writing everything down, right? So part 2, I am a professor who writes on Sundays. So Umberto Eco, right, is He's an author, he's a novelist. And actually, a couple of years back, I had the opportunity to travel back to Canada and had gone to the University of Toronto Library. I'll show you the picture at the end of the class. This book that they are talking about, Umberto Eco, right? The Name of the Rose was displayed over there. And actually, in the Name of the Rose, he talks about some libraries. And actually, the University of Toronto Library is exactly designed like how Umberto Eco defines the library in this book, right? So, I'm a professor who writes novel on Sundays. Now, it's an amazing thing to understand that people can find time to do various things despite their busy schedule, right? They do something very well, but they do other things too well by utilizing their time. So we'll come to know why is he saying he is a professor who writes novel on Sundays. Now this is a common question that can be asked in the board exam. If you are a professor, you don't have time, then how do you find time? So we'll get the answer to that question, and we can find it meaningful. He says that if he is coming down from the ground floor to the office and then there is some time in the lift, he would think of the article and write it there, right? Do you think he actually writes it there? Maybe he has a notebook and a pen, he writes a diary entry and then goes back to the office and writes it. But he tells us that he utilizes his time well. He utilizes his free time. So I have seen many children sometimes in the classes also, here or in the other class day, when we have some downtime, some other people are working on something, they will start doing their other work related to the subject. That is called working in interstices. Some of you are already doing it. Some people, what they will do is, anytime there is lag time, they will open a book and start reading. That is called working in interstices, finding work in your free time. Clear? So the following is an extract from an interview of Umberto Eco. The interviewer is Mukund Padmanabhan from the Hindu. Now the Hindu is one of the oldest newspapers in our country. And then if anybody wants to prepare for any entrance examination, Hindu is a very good source of reading. Hindu is a very good source of reading and learning from, because if you want to crack any entrance exam, Hindu is a good source. So he is from the Hindu, and so he must be a very good journalist. Generally journalist takes interview. We talked about it yesterday. It is not journalist now. More oftenly it is a podcaster. Yes, but they are like modern day journalists. But you find journalists, there is this lady who has become very famous in our country called Parki Sharma, right? Works for some, and then people say her English is good. She's of course a good journalist, but journalists are not the only people who take interviews. There are all kinds of people who take interviews. So Umberto Eco is a professor at the University of Bologna in Italy, and had acquired a formidable, means a very good, or causing fear of, or a very good reputation. He is a reputed person, I told you, right? I had just walked by into the University of Toronto's library main campus. His book was out there, prominently displayed for children to read. So this book that we are talking about is a very good book. It's a novel, it's a story book, but it is a very good book. And then that is how he became famous. Okay? Reputation as a scholar for his ideas on semiotics. Semiotics is the study of sign language or signs. Semiotics is the study of sign or sign language. I want everybody to keep writing. Literary interpretation. Literary means words. When you are talking to a blind person or a deaf person, you need different kinds of techniques to help them. With a blind person, you need braille. For a deaf and other kinds of people, you need a different kind of language. So literary interpretation means that. And medieval was a time when there was this development, time when a lot of things got developed in the sense of beauty, aesthetics, the sense of beauty, before he turned to writing fiction. So he generally writes non-fiction because he's a professor. Now if you don't know, non-fiction is real stuff and fiction is unreal stuff. But the fiction that is unreal today can become non-fiction tomorrow. Like mobile phones were fiction in the past. In the medieval times, if somebody talks about a mobile phone, it was a fiction, but now mobile phones are possible. So thin line between fiction and non-fiction, but he started writing fiction later, but most of the times he used to write academic work because he's a professor. Literary fiction, academic text, essays, children's books, newspaper articles. His written output is staggering. Staggering means very high or overwhelming. Very high, large and wide ranging. So now with this, if somebody tells us or asks us in the exam, what do we know about this person? He is a brilliant person, but he has not stayed there. He kept on developing his skills, and we'll come to know later in the chapter, he has identified his skills. His other people in his life also has helped him identify his skills. He is a very good storyteller. He's a very good storyteller. And how does he tells those stories? He writes all of them. And then when you turn to this idea, literary fiction, academic texts, essays, children books, newspapers, articles, his written work of all kinds, what does that tell you? He's a writer who likes to write But then because he is a very good storyteller, people also want to read his work because it tells them in a very interesting manner. And of course, a book can become a bestseller or can sell millions of copies only when you write well, and then the written work is so well that people want to read it. People say, oh, did you read that book? Right? We talk about over here a lot of books, not in your class, but in the other class. I talk a lot about other books, right? In this class also, I sometimes tell you to read books. Like, for example, Prisoners of Geography. Tim Marshall is a very good writer, and then he has written 3-4 books, and I recommend all of you to read that. But why does someone recommend the other person read this book? Because it opens up your mind. Books are things that open up your mind, right? In 1980, so I don't know, before you were born, it is around the time I was born, he acquired the equivalent of intellectual superstardom. Now, superstardom, somebody can be a music superstar, somebody can be an acting superstar, somebody can be a dancing superstar. This guy is a writing superstar. Right? With the publication of The Name of the Rose. I will show you the picture if I can at the end of the class from the University of Toronto Library. The book was prominently displayed in the lobby alley of the University of Toronto, and they had put in pictures of how he had described this book. In the book, he had described the library, and the library of the University of Toronto is designed the same way as he has described in the book, which sold more than 10 million copies. Now, why would somebody sell 10 million copies? As in, why would it sell so much? Because it has meaning. It is wonderful to read. Though it is fiction, people like the reading. Now, so this is like an introduction to the interview, right? And now we'll start reading the interview, right? So there are two people, Mukund and Umberto Eco. In the general class, I would ask somebody to read as Mukund and somebody as Umberto Eco, but we are past that. We are doing a rapid thing, so let it be rapid like this, and hope everybody is writing notes. Otherwise, this is also going to go away from your head. Everybody awake, everybody writing, everybody needs to make sure they are there, because I am not going to digress from the topic over here. Everybody needs to be present in their life. Okay? Present in their life, not my life, because this is their life that we are talking about. Okay? Mukund. The English novelist and academic David Lodge once remarked, somebody else they are talking about, quoting, I can't understand how one man can do all the things he does, Umberto Eco does. So he does a lot of things. Yes or no? And then people who can do a lot of things, they are called polymath. Polymath. You can check your dictionary later, or you can do it right now while we are learning this if you have time. So people who can do multiple things, they are called polymath. So I'll give you one example of a polymath person. It is Elon Musk. You can call him polymath. He can do multiple things. He can read, write, discover things, work on things, multiple things. So these people are called polymath. So David Lodge is basically remarking that how can Umberto Eco do so many things? So Umberto Eco, maybe I give an impression of doing many things. Now this shows his humility. All great people are humble. You will never find a good guy not humble. The greatest of the greatest, if you talk to them, don't be afraid of them, they are always humble. And if they are not, then they are very, it's a very short time before they are going to get figured out by the world. Because your peers don't review you, the world reviews you. That is how the world works. So if you are a faker, try faking. But if you are not genuine, one day you are going to get figured out. But all good people are humble. So he says, I don't do much things. People think that I do many things. I am a common person. That is what he is trying to say. Hope you are writing. But in the end, I am convinced I am always doing the same thing. What is he always doing? Writing, reading, learning. He is always doing the same thing. Writing, reading, learning, or continuously learning. All great people do that. Mukund, which is, so now he's a great interviewer. He does not talk. Great interviewers don't talk. They allow the person being interviewed talk because now they want to get information. So he says, which is, what are you talking about? Now that is a sign of a great interviewer. Now that is more difficult to explain. I have some philosophical interest. So philosophy, we know, is, understanding the world. Philosophy, and then there are philosophies of science, there are philosophies of different subjects. But here philosophical interest means understanding of the world, or trying to understand the world better, how it works. And I pursue them through my academic work. How does he pursue them? Now, people don't like academics, but academics is what? Reading, writing, learning? Yes or no? What is academics? Right? If you are an academician, you will also learn on the sports ground how the game is played. And then you will play it, and then you will learn it. You are also an academic there. And my novels. And second, he writes books, novels, stories. Even my books for children are about the same, non-violence and peace, you see. So, if you say he likes philosophy, what kind of philosophy does he like? Peace, non-violence. Do you understand or no? He's against wars. And all of his work is, when you read his work, you will find these themes common in his written work. Agree, understand, clear, and the same bunch of ethical. What is ethics? Doing the right thing even when nobody is watching. Very difficult. Always doing the right thing even when nobody is watching. That is called ethics. Ethics is a subject in itself. You will learn it in university. I hope you are interested in such subjects, because these are the baseline subjects on which the world depends. Ethical, philosophical interests. And then I have a secret. See, everybody has a secret. Did you know what will happen if you will eliminate all the empty spaces in the universe? Right? Big Bang. There will be no dust left, or there will be a universe. Right? In our philosophy, there is pralay, and then nothing is left out. Only God. Right? And then the universes, and then the ever expanding universe. But he's saying if everything falls, right, everything becomes very, 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 very small, then the world will become zero. So he's saying eliminate empty spaces from the universe, eliminate the empty spaces in all the atoms. The universe will become as big as my fist, right? So he's not talking about complete destruction, but he's saying let's shrink the universe. The universe is in the palm of your fist. Universe आपकी मुट्ठी में. Universe आपकी मुट्ठी में. Universe in the palm of your fist. Now, people say I don't have time. Everybody has time. People say I have only 24 hours. So does all great people. So he's, with humility, is trying to say, I find time for doing other work that I like in the time that is left out from the work that I need to do. So the universe will become as big as my fist. Similarly, we have a lot of empty spaces. Like I told you, right, that some of you have learned. Some people say I don't have time to read books. But some people, while going to the dining hall, they will read. Some people say I don't have time for this. But while having lunch, they will get that work done. There are many people like that in the world. I call them interstices. He calls them empty spaces. And he works on those empty spaces. I hope you write the example that everybody is busy, but still you have time. Say you are coming over to my place. You are in an elevator, and while you are coming up, I am waiting for you. This is an interstice, empty space. There are people in our school also, sometimes when they are having snack, they are constantly in their mind revising formulas. By writing these formulas over here on the board, you are not going to remember them. But this is the idea of a focused person. And focus is not something that you can buy from the market. But always people want to talk to other people and say, can I get focus? You don't get focus. You get focus because you have dreams. You get focus because you like something. You get focus because your dreams are bigger than your challenges. That is when you get focus. So he gets focus. He has to do his work to earn bread and butter. If he stops going to the college, university, teaching things, where will he earn his bread and butter from? But he also likes writing. So he says, my schedule is full, but I will still keep writing. And that is where he works. I work in empty spaces. And people who can work in empty spaces can do a lot more than ordinary people. And this guy is not ordinary, and that is why we are reading his interview, and CBSE has given us this chapter in the exam. So as to help us understand that the exams are coming, and you might be overwhelmed with the subjects you have, but you always have empty spaces. While waiting for your elevator to come up from the first to the third floor, I have already written an article, and he laughs. Now, this shows us his genius, his focus, his love for writing or storytelling, and also tells us he is humble. Otherwise, people will say, Arey, I am a genius. In the dream also I do articles. Right? But he doesn't say that. What does he say? Everybody has the same time. And I do my bread and butter work. Right? And I still manage to do other work. And actually I am a good professor. But I became famous of my novels. Now I don't believe people like my work. But actually I am a professor. So that is the title of the interview. I am a professor who writes on Sundays. He became famous because of his novels, but what does he do day in and day out? He's a professor. He teaches. And sometimes people think, if I do this first, I do music first, I will be able to do other things. No, if you do other things well, you might be able to do music also. But that is not something that our society teaches us with the dumb scrolling and the phones in our hand. Chalo, Mukund. Not everyone can do that, of course. True. Who can do this? You and I cannot do it. Your non-fictional writing, your scholarly work has a certain playful and personal quality about it. Right? Non-fiction also, he makes it alive. Otherwise, non-fiction is boring. If you have to read a physics paper of the highest quality, maybe of the Nature magazine, you will bang your wall to the head. If you have to learn the latest research in, proteins and, how new DNA sequences work or biology, you will bang your head because you don't have academic interest. But he has academic interest and he can turn those academics' boring work into storytelling. So anybody can understand. He is such a person. So I think his classes at university would also be full because people would come to listen to him. Because he can simplify things. Do you understand? So it is a marked departure. It is not a common thing. Marked departure means common thing. It is not a common thing. He says all academic work is boring. Why? Because it is boring, right? If you have to learn physics and if you don't know physics, or if you want to understand modern physics or quantum physics, which nobody knows, right? Even the best professors don't know quantum physics, quantum mechanics, because they are evolving fields. But then if you have to present a science in that, it will be boring for people because they don't understand it. But this guy can make it simple, can make it simple, can make it interesting. And so when you make it simple and interesting, then even a fifth grader can understand it. And that is why people like his work. From regular academic style. What is regular academic style? Boring. Which is invariably depersonalized and often dry and boring. What is depersonalized? When something is not easy to understand, it becomes depersonal. Like when I teach, you sleep in the class because I am a depersonalizing person. I don't make things meaningful. I don't simplify it. And that is why you sleep. And have you consciously adopted an informal approach, or is it something that has come naturally to you? So that is now the question. When you write things, you make boring things interesting. Have you developed the skill, or is it natural? Is it a God's gift? Is it natural, or have you developed? Both. Even if God has gifted you, and if you don't use the talents, it rusts. We have this example for a very, very long time. Vinod Kamli Tendulkar. More talented, more runs before Tendulkar. So talent is nothing, it is zilch. Even if you have the best talent in the world, you have to keep working on that talent. And that is what makes life meaningful. But people don't want to do that in the modern world. Chalo. When I presented my first doctoral thesis, what is doctoral dissertation? When you are doing a PhD, fata hua dhol. Doctorate in philosophy. One of the professors said, scholars learn a lot of certain subject, then they make a lot of false hypotheses, and then they correct them, and at the end they put the conclusions. So now this is science. So how does science work? People may say earth is round, or earth is oval, or earth is semicircular, or earth is an hemisphere, or earth is a vada pav, or earth is a sandwich, and then you try and prove that. And then you come to say, oh, it is not a sandwich, it is not a vada pav, it is not this. By the way, how the earth is? Oval, kind of oval, it is not round. And that is why you need about, I think, 3 or more satellites to cover the entire world. Again physics, again science, again geography. It is oval, it is not completely circular. I may be wrong with the science facts, but that is not what I want to prove. So, is earth a sandwich? Can you eat it? So then you make that hypothesis false and you say, oh, this does not work. Oh, this does not work. Oh, this does not work. So you have to work like that with your life also. Overeating does not work. Oversleeping does not work. Focusing in class works, but it is not working for me. What do I do? You have to also have this checklist for your life where you say, this is not working. This is not working. This is not working. What is working? This is working. Let me do it more. This is working. Let me do it more. You, on the contrary, told the story of your research. So instead of doing it this way, he told the story. I was doing this in lab. Beaker broke. My hair burned. He made it interesting. Right? So he made difficult things easy. Even including your trials and errors. You understand trial and error? While doing the experiment, my hair burned. Right? The entire lab was like on fire. There were rats in the lab. You can show all your mistakes. At the same time, he recognized I was right and went on to publish my dissertation as a book, which meant he appreciated it. Now, a dissertation is never published as a book. But his dissertation is published as a book because he has written it in the form of a story. So if you want to learn how somebody does science, you can read his book and you will understand how did he do trial and error. How did he experiment? How did he come to conclusions? So that tells us that he is a very, very, very good storyteller because nobody publishes their dissertation which is boring as a book. At that point, and this he does at the age of 22, I understood scholarly books should be written the way I had done by telling the story of the research. So the best way to make people interested in even boring stuff is to tell good stories. It makes it easy for them. Or the other way is to simplify things for the other people, not make it complicated. And that is why when we discuss in the English class, I tell you, even if you try to, you will not be able to memorize the dictionary. So you have to write in simple language. You don't have to put in 4 words that you don't understand and then the people will not understand. And if I start doing this in the class, you will also not understand what I am trying to say over here in the class. Right? This is why my essays, articles, always have a narrative aspect. What is narrative? Story. Narrative is a story. Narration. All movies are stories. That is why we like them. Or all stories are stories. That is why we like them. And that is why probably I started writing narratives, novels so late at the age of 50. So he had the skill at which age? 22. But he started writing stories at 50. Why? Sir, I like to sing. That doesn't mean you end your career of doing what work you are doing or what you should be doing for your bread and butter. I know many doctors who like to sing. They do it on the side. They do it in the bathroom. And when they get super successful, right, they might form a band and perform. And they were not famous because they were doctors, but they were famous because they were a doctor who would sing. So life is simple, but we try to make it complicated. But we have to make sure we work on our bread and butter first. Samajh pade che, everybody understands. Chalo, everybody is writing. I don't want to say these words, but I want you to be attentive. I remember that my dear friend Roland Barthes was always frustrated that he was an essayist and was not a novelist. So there are some people who are only focused to a specific skill. He wanted to do creative writing one day or another, but he died before that and he could not do so. Now here is an example. God gives you certain set of skills. Right? And if you don't do anything out of it, it gets rusted. And if you keep learning for your life, and the other thing is keep doing. The other word for it is keep trying. The other word for it is keep failing. In the end, you will be able to do some infinite function of these skills. Why? You became better. But here the example of Ronald Barthes has been given because he limited himself with his set of skills. Samajh pade che, everybody understands. You say I can do English and you will never learn English. You say I can do physics and you will never learn physics. You say math is tough. Start doing math, it's going to be easy. But if you sign up for silly courses and just kick the computer keyboard, you're not going to learn it. You have to do it. And then there are people who have dreams and they can do things and they die. Right? But what is he trying to say? He's trying to give us an example that though I am busy, from 22 to the age of 50, I settled my career first. And at 50, maybe I had more time and I kept on brushing up my skills of doing what needs to be done, and I could do it. Like you can sleep because you have practiced sleeping. I had nothing to do on one day, so I started doing novels. Probably satisfied my taste of narration. Do you think he had nothing to do? No, it's not the case. He always kept on brushing his skills. Right? So he made his skills more and more and more and more and amplified it. So then now those things came more naturally. So he could do it faster. Somebody cannot, learn swimming by looking at the swimming pool, they say. Somebody cannot use user manuals to fly an aeroplane. We had discussed. Right? You are on a brand new flight and everything, and then suddenly they announce that it is AI operated. I would be the first person to get out of it. Maybe the technology one day will mature and it will carry passengers. Yes or no? But till that time we have to make sure we do what we need to do. So he brushed up his skills. He worked on his skills all his life. Mukund. So now all of this again tells us that he is a humble person. Yes or no? He is not showing off. Arey, I had to work 3 jobs. I had children. I had to tend for them. I worked extra hours. I was in the gutter. You don't know. I was in bad times. You know how hard life is. Right? So he's not a complainer. And he's a doer. And he did it. What he wanted. In the end, he could do. You know how hard life is. You don't know. At least this class doesn't know. You get out of this school, you know how hard life is. You get out to Kamre Charasta, you know how hard life is. It's very bad. Chalo. Talking about novels, from being a very famous academic, you want to become spectacularly famous after the publication of The Name of the Rose. The book made him famous. What made him famous? Not his professor work, not his academic work. This one book made him famous. You have written 5 novels against many more scholarly works. So he has written total 5 novels, but which became famous? Name of the Rose. Name of the Rose became famous. And at least 20 more of them. So he has written many books, but one book in itself gave him superstardom. He became very famous because of one work. Now that is again an example. With all the work that you do in life, you don't become famous. Anyways, you don't want to become famous. You want to keep doing the good work, so one day you will shine because of one of the things that you do. Umberto Eco, over 40. He has done more than 40 books, etc. Over 40? Among them, a seminal, means a very interesting, large development piece of work on semiotics, sign language. So what is his main thing? Sign language. That is what his specialization is. But he's not famous for that. Does he worry about it? No. He still likes doing semiotics. But on the side, he writes novels. When he became famous for the novels, not for his work that he likes more. But ask most people about Umberto Eco, and they will say, oh, he's a novelist. Does that bother you? Oh, people, you are a doctor and you can sing. And you have a band. And you sing everywhere. And people know you as a singer. Nobody knows you as a doctor. Don't you mind? No, I don't mind. Why would I mind? I'm still a doctor. That is my profession. I'm not a cricketer. I play cricket on the turf on Sundays. I play it in the sports time. No, I'm not a cricketer. No, but some people think they are Ronaldo. And that is the conflict that they have, and they will never be successful. So I'm this person. You're not. You have to keep doing what you need to do, and then keep pursuing your hobbies, and then maybe you will become famous for your hobby. Because I consider myself a university professor who writes novels on Sundays. Now, do you get the point of the chapter? That he is not a full-time writer. He's a full-time professor, and he finds time to do his work. It's not a joke. I participate in academic conferences and not meetings of pen clubs and writers. So he doesn't participate in people who write. We sit with them. He is always engaged in a university. Now, what is a pen club? It is something that was there in our Jamana. In our world, we were able to write letters to random people and make friends with them overseas. So I remember writing letters to few of them and getting replies. There was a magazine or a small book called Reader's Digest. In that, they would publish list of people with their addresses. And so you write a letter to them, building friendship. Old day social media network. So it is a pen pal or a pen pal club. You write to each other, you don't know them, and you exchange things. You exchange photographs, you exchange writing, you talk to them, and you would send letters. It would be an exchange of letters. Now all of that is gone. Now it's a text message away. And writers. I identify myself with which community? Academic community. But okay, I'm okay. If most people have read only the novels, laughs and shrugs. But what does he believe he is? He's a academician. He's a professor. I know that by writing novels, I reach a larger audience. I cannot expect that to have 1 million readers with that stuff on semiotics. So if somebody publishes some work in physics, there will not be 1 million readers in physics. Why? समझ में आना चाहिए ना भैया. If somebody does mathematical work and fills the board job, समझ में आना चाहिए ना. So, but his hobby or his skill gave him superstardom. Mukund, which brings me to the very next question, or my next question. The Name of the Rose is a very serious novel. Big one. Maybe 500, 600 pages. Who wants to read such stuff? In the modern day, people don't want to do things for their life. If somebody feeds you, you will say, okay, feed me. I don't want to chew food. Give me juice. That is what people want to do. That is how lazy people are. It is a detective yarn at one level. So it has, like things get lost and then you have to chase it and you have to find it. It's like a James Bond thing. Yes or no? Hopefully everybody knows James Bond. The spy things. But it delves into metaphysics, means physics at a broad level. Microphysics, metaphysics. Theology. Theology is the study of spirituality or God. And medieval history. Historical things. Now, the book has detective stuff, physics stuff, God stuff, and it has also medieval history. Now it is a confusing thing, but we know that he writes confusing things in which manner? Interesting manner. He writes confusing things in which manner? Interesting manner. And so even when the novel was complicated, people read it. No, journalists are puzzled. Sorry. Yet it enjoyed a huge mass audience. So if it is this complicated, will many people enjoy it? No. Were you puzzled by this? No, not at all. Because I know the topic is difficult, but I have written it in such an interesting manner, people want to read it. Then Umberto Eco replies, no, journalists are puzzled. That it is a complex thing, then why people are reading it? And sometimes publishers. Publishers are people who publish books. Simon and Schuster, then Penguin Books, these are publishers. So his publisher is confused. Journalists are confused. And this is because journalists and publishers believe that people like thrash and don't like difficult reading experiences. What is thrash over here? Anything. Anything. Some people read thrash. Consider there are 6 billion people on this planet. The Name of the Rose sold between 10 and 15 million copies. So in a way, I will only reach a small percentage of readers. Now again, this shows his humility. Is there a statistics on how many people are literate at that time? How many people are readers? Do you think everybody in the world wants to read? Though it is one of the most important skills. You meet any person in the world, and if they are successful, they will name 4 books when they talk. At least. Or grounded. They will name at least 4 books when they talk. When they have learned something really nicely. But nobody wants to do it. That's the problem of the world. So he says, there are so many. In India, there are 150 crore people. And if you write a book and then say maybe 1 crore read it, you say how much fraction I have reached. But again, 1 crore people read it. How many? Out of 150 crore. Don't you think it is a huge achievement? But what do we chase? How many likes did we get on Instagram? How many people liked our thing? How many people forwarded that? How many people wrote a comment? And even if that comment is silly and then somebody is cursing you, you want to curse back. Or you want to block that person. And that is not how the life used to work. It has been spoiled for you. Right? And that is why you sleep in broad daylight. But it is exactly these kind of readers who don't want easy experiences. People want to learn. There are people who want to do meaningful physics research. There are people who want to do meaningful mathematics research. They will have to hook out from Instagram. They would have to hook out from WhatsApp. They would have to hook out from their mobile phones. They would have to hook out from their silly idea of playing video game all night. You can play a video game for half an hour. That's not a problem. Or at least don't always want this. I myself at 9 p.m. See, he says that even when I want to wind down, when I am tired out of a long day's work, I want to wind down. You guys wind down on the sports ground. You guys wind down in the assembly. You guys wind down during the RT. You guys wind down during talking with your friends. That is winding down. Some people wind down by doing nothing on their Psi Extra classes. Winding down. After 9 p.m. dinner, I wind down, not return, watch television and want to see either Miami Vice or Emergency Room. These are common daily shows which were shown on TV during the 1980s. Right? So he says he's a common man. He also wants to wind down. He also wants to do entertainment. But his book was not written for people who just want to have chill. His was some serious work, but it was very interesting, written very well. He's a storyteller, so people preferred his work. But again, I'm telling you, he has written the book so well, and if people who want to read it, they will like the book. That is the idea. But what does again it show about his character? Humble. All good people, they never show themselves during the interview. And let's connect this to the first part. Do you think Mukund Padmanabham is taking an interview in a nice manner? He is asking the right questions. He is not talking about his personal life. So interviewer is a very good person. And interview also is not showing off. And that makes the interviewer ask even better questions. And that is why interview, if taken properly, is the best form of getting to the truth. This is the idea of the chapter. That is why we had been shown in the previous part that people asked bad questions, took pictures, barged on their privacy, came in between them and their lives and their children, followed them, interrupted them without asking anything. But here the interview is being taken in a very nice manner. The interviewer, though a famous person, is saying, "Are yaar, I've done nothing. Are yaar, I have not nothing. Are yaar, I have done nothing." And the interviewer sees that and he says, "Wow, what a man. Let us ask more. Let us figure out more from his life, because he is a good person, a good man." Mukund, could the huge success of the novel have anything to do with the fact that it dealt with a period of medieval history, that one part history? Maybe because of that it became famous. That's possible, but let me tell you another story. So he likes telling stories, so he tells another story, because that is how conversations happen. Because I often tell stories like a Chinese wise man. My American publisher said she loved my book. She didn't expect to sell more than 3,000 copies in a country where nobody has seen a cathedral. Now, why cathedral? Cathedral is a church. And remember, his book has theology. And nobody believes in God. So who will read a book which has some part of God in it? So she said, your book is trash. Only 3,000 people will read it. And I will give you advance for only those many copies. But in the end, it sold 2 or 3 million in the US alone. Now why? Again the same thing. He is an amazing storyteller. That is why his PhD work was also published as a book, because he told the PhD work also as a story. A lot of books have been written about medieval history in the past before mine, but they haven't been successful. I think the success of the book is a mystery. Is it a mystery? No. His work is really very, very good. He has worked on his work for life. Worked on his work for life. And then suddenly one thing people start liking, so he becomes famous. But otherwise, he's a good person. He does a lot of work. Nobody can predict it. I think if I had written the name of the rose 10 years earlier or 10 years later, it wouldn't have been the same. Why it worked at that time is a mystery. Again, he is showing his humility, right? He is not boasting. He is not showing off. He is saying he keeps doing the work he likes. And sometimes he does not understand why name of the rose became so famous, or he became very famous because of it. And that brings us to the end of the idea of the chapter, that interviewers, if take the interview in the right way, and the interviewee also is humble, then interview is the best form to get something from somebody very quick in a short amount of time, and the knowledge passes very fast. And that is why we have seminars, we have conferences, we have talks. People think talks are boring. You bring a good person to ask him to talk, you don't want to listen to him. But they are the most important things in which we learn in life. So hopefully this rapid revision will help you. And I think, after this work, you will at least work on this for your exams, because me talking just helps me. It does not help you. And if you look at your literary companion, you compare it right now, open the book, compare it, you will come to